So we talk a lot about inter competitiveness with others. So I want to translate to a little bit of an intra, which that's self motivation, which I don't know about you, but I find it a lot harder when I'm competing with myself versus when I'm competing with others.
Mhm.
And you put out a big post about your lunge 365, and we will have a lot more conversations about habit forming, about discipline. But can you just give us a little bit of an overview on how you do have all of this with your athletes, telling them to do, but yourself, you have this internal battle with this lunge 365.
Yeah, so Lunge 365 essentially, you can kind of take it any route that you want. I kind of follow it more based on, what it's supposed to be. So it's essentially it was a program that a bodybuilder created because he wanted a way to quickly kind of burn some fat without, just the legitimate going and running 3 miles or whatever. And so he just started doing lunges every day. And so the requirement is just 400 meters of lunges. Some guys have just kind of taken that to the next level. And like the guy that has like the Guinness World Record does 800 meters every day. He's been doing it for like 3,000 something days straight, which is just insane. And so I was
They don't
like,
know me,
number
son.
one, what's up?
They don't know me, son. Who's gonna carry the boats and the
Oh,
logs?
man. So when I
What are the
started
chances we
this,
get what are the chances Goggins listens to it? Sorry.
if Goggins listen to this, I'll stop everything I'm doing
Yeah,
and just do the podcast
Goggins,
full time.
if you're listening, we want to talk.
So yeah, I started the lunges just kind of like just wanted to see what they were like. It was my last outdoor workout of 75 hard. So I did like a 35-minute walk and then I just lunged the distance of a parking lot for 10 minutes. And dude, my quads were absolutely just destroyed the next day. Like I couldn't walk up and down the stairs. They were that bad. And I was like, oh man, do I really want to do this? Because I didn't want it to like affect my training at all. And I was just like, I was making excuses. I was like, screw it. Like, I'm gonna do this. And so I kind of started it a little bit different than like just jumping right into the 400 meters. So I just started at the track and I would just kind of go for, I'd set um benchmarks that I wanted to try to hit. And like once I could do that, I was like, I'd keep kind of going, keep kind of going, keep kind of going until I could eventually work my way around the track. I think that process, I mean, I could probably pull it up, but I think it took like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks to kind of get acclimated before I sent like
Yeah.
a legitimate 400 meters. And so then ever since then, I was just like, I'm gonna keep doing this and forever. Like I'm not gonna stop. And obviously there was a lot of, days where I didn't want to do lunges. I remember one time, the most recent one that I remember is I was waiting for Juice and Darwin at the airport. Shout out Juice and
Oh
Darwin
God,
if you're
yes.
listening. And they were this was the day before our rehearsal dinner for our wedding. So it was our wedding weekend. And we had a super long day, just like getting everything set up for the wedding. And like we were just mentally exhausted. And they, the earliest their flight was going to get in was like 10 or 10:30 or 11 p.m. at night. And so we get there at 11 and my buddy Darwin hadn't even boarded the freaking flight yet in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so we're at O'Hare Airport at 11 p.m. I hadn't done my lunch, or I knew that the next day I would have to get up early anyways because we were going golfing. And it was like at this point it was like I think 2 a.m. And I'm like, okay, well, I know I'm not going to have any time to do my lunges. So I had my Crocs on and I just started banging deficit lunges on the curb for like 12 minutes. And again, it just kind of shows like when you set a challenge for yourself to not let anything kind of get in the way and just go do it. And that's kind of what lunges taught me. And obviously, there's a ton of different avenues I could probably take down that. And I don't do them anymore just because they were getting boring. And, I wasn't going to continue to do something that sucked and got boring.
I mean, just a
Um,
testament that like there were a couple of times where you were with me and you kind of encouraged me to do lunges, aka you just kind of made me feel bad for not wanting to. So I remember the one time at U of I, we were ripping out lunges in the parking lot outside my apartment. I was like 200 meters behind you, and I couldn't walk for like 3 days after. And
yeah,
I'm
I'm
just
sorry for
this
if you
guy,
know me
you
well enough,
got
you've probably done lunges with me. So
no. I mean, like this, you got to have. I mean, for any, I think that's the thing with any kind of those disciplinary things. Like, you got to have something in you to say, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this done. I need to do this. And I think that we can talk about, yeah, I think that's a good conversation that as an athlete, you need to form habits. And there are going to be some things that you're going to do. Like it's not necessarily that that's going to get you any stronger, but maybe that's more of like a mental hurdle that
Yeah,
is
that's kind of how I view them, was just mental.
that,
Because I think it's just like, I think daily, like, I guess daily non-negotiables are kind of a good thing.
yeah,
And I think they can get carried away to an extent, but I think just having a couple things that and they could be small, man. They could even just be like, at the end of the day, like writing down three things you're thankful for or something
yeah,
like that, where you're just kind of, the whole point of that, I think, is just to find ways to be present with where you are.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of the whole point of just having, whether that be lunges or a couple pages you're reading the night before bed, or setting boundaries on your social media or something like that, where you're forcing yourself to do something that you often don't want to do or that's not convenient for you. So
yeah.
that's kind of
No,
my
I agree. And I think the trap that what happens that why a lot of that kind of runs out eventually is that you do those habits because you do sense that there is a little bit of a spiritual force that you want to improve in life and you want to have some attainable way to see that. And eventually, the more you keep doing something, the less of a direct result it has. The marginal returns decrease.
hmm
So that kind of tests, well, do I want to keep doing this and maybe stack some other stuff on top of it? Do I want to use this in a more efficient way? Do I want to increase the challenge? I think that's all. I think that's all very good things. And that's one thing that I think we can both get on here and talk about doing specific programs and specific devotions and spiritual or physical exercises. But at the end of the day, it's something to have that sort of consistency that, yeah, you can go to bed at the end of the day saying, I'm not going to bed until I read a couple pages of the Bible, until I clean my dishes, until I I'm not, until I make my bed. It's anything like that. Like that, none of that is going to hurt you.
no.
So,
Well, we might have to do a whole podcast just on like building habits or like building like what does it mean to have everyone talks about like the mental fortitude or focus, like what does that actually mean?
yeah, maybe get a different co-host for that one. Maybe send Huberman a message and have him tell everyone about his morning routine because
Maybe we can get Yoakum Shroom Trips advice on there or something.
that
Something
man,
else.
he's literally living on it.
Yeah. All right. So I'll ask you, what do
Yeah.
you think? We've had some crazy ones, and I mean most of them were because of COVID and just like we were trying to figure out how to freaking train. I have a few in my mind, but what do you think were our craziest training stories?
So there was one day it was like 20 degrees and we played catch in the Wabansie parking lot. And
Dude, I was literally just thinking.
I think neither of us had like thrown in like a month. And we both got to, we were like, we're gonna throw across the entire parking lot. We got to like 120 feet, and we're like, dude, we both were like, our arms are gonna fall off.
Yeah, and I always remember after that day, because that was when I was trying to become an outfielder, like I was moving from first base to outfield, and so I was just like trying to get my arm in shape. I just
Yeah,
remember being so sad after that day because
yeah. I remember that was a pretty depressing drive
I
home.
was just like for some reason we were just thought that we could start throwing,
Yeah,
not to mention 20 degrees, there was snow on the
yeah.
ground, and we were throwing plyo balls and mittens into the brick wall to do our warm up.
I don't remember the mittens. I remember the
I had
plyo.
mittens on throwing plyo balls. And dude, like I thought my external rotators were just going to pop.
Yeah. What else is there? There was that one day where I think we were like, weren't we like swinging an actual, we were like using the PVC pipe. Because I remember that was a phase like at some point I got into like using where you like put the PVC pipe behind you and you used to like rotate or something.
Yeah.
And then one day I think you were just like, you know what, let's just swing with it. And that was also around the mini baseball phase. And
Yeah,
I
I
think,
think we were hitting mini baseballs with
yeah,
PV.
and I think I remember it was me. I just completely let go of the pipe and it got just stuck in a tree
Yep.
in like a forest. And for whatever reason, we're thinking, let's try. We found some like wood board, like a 2x4 or something. We're thinking, let's just throw that. This could be a good part where you have to clip this in here.
Yeah, that's the point. You
Yeah,
don't gotta
yeah.
mention it.
Cue the clip. where we'll throw you throwing the thing into the forest. But
Yeah, trying to
and then
get the two line.
it miraculously we had like a 45-minute cage session at the right as we were leaving, it just fell.
Yeah, it's funny how that
Was
works.
that when we taped the pennies to it as well, or was that?
Yeah, we did. We got a bunch of pennies and we just duct taped them to the end of the bat to make it like loaded so that it made like that whip effect.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't
Um,
know though. I don't know if anything will beat the sailboat L screen. You want to explain that one a little bit?
all right. Well, yeah. So, and I was in our garage. I found like an old L screen that was like, I guess, like a pop up one that you could put up. That I remember we got to the field. We are gonna take on field batting practice, and I just remember because it was one of my first posts. But me and you literally spent like there were like three pieces missing, and we spent like 30 minutes
Dude, it had to have
trying
been
to
an
like
hour.
yeah, it was longer because we were literally we got something and then it fell right down. And then we kind of ghetto rigged it another way. And then we were both, I think, like throwing balls at it to be like, if you hit a 90-mile-an-hour shot right back at me, am I just gonna take this in the shin and be out for the season or something? Because that's what we wanted to test. There was that. The I had another one too, I was
How about
thinking.
going to Little League fields and then being humbled when we couldn't hit a bomb out to right center at like
Yeah,
220 with the ball?
shout out Don Clark with for completely mislabeling. It says like 260 down the line. I've played it 260 before. Like it's maybe like 290 you could give me, but like I've literally gone there like several times and haven't been able to hit. I've done like home runs.
I think you're 0 for 1,000 on bombs hit at Don Clark.
No, that was yeah. And shout out to high school fall ball. We played there a couple of times and like it is a little league park and nobody can hit.
How about when we went to Geneva High School and
Oh, the
we're
dog
gonna hit
toy.
and we
Yeah.
were gonna hit on the field, but their cages were taken down. So
Yeah,
instead of that, we
this
just did
huge.
the dog toy in the dugout.
Yeah, and the dog toy. Another lesson to what we were talking about earlier is your rationale is, oh, Mookie Betts does the thing with the dog toy. So yeah, that must mean that it worked for him. So it's gonna make me and you into 8-time All Stars.
I got
So
to admit, I think the dog toy was at least a reason for three of my home runs that year.
that was not the dumbest thing we've ever done.
The dog toy was had some ROIs.
We had the dog toy. I had one other thing that popped up, but I forgot it. I still think this is I still use this one, but I think after my junior year, I just bought these like plastic like kids mitts, and like I literally would just only train.
Remember that?
I literally only would take ground balls with those,
Yeah.
and like I honestly I wasn't really the vibe at Franciscan to like go in a scrimmage and like play with it, but I would have for like purposes because it's the same concept as using a donut. Like it gets once you have a bigger mitt, it's a lot easier to feel the ground ball. Because I remember there was one day where you were like hitting me like short fungos, and like I was fielding like 50%, and you're like, you got to go get the ball, and I'm like, I'm basically fielding it barehanded. Um,
The foam pads. Did you have the foam pad at Franciscan?
I did. It's probably is
Memory.
it somebody at Franciscan comments, are the foam pads still there? Because I think I was gonna take them home, and then I think
Hold
that's
on,
when you
hold
told
on.
me.
So for reference, we wanted to create a box squat that you might have like when the blue pads for all you listeners out there where you sink in. So we bought memory or I bought memory foam off Facebook and then we cut it down so that when we do our box squats, we create that sinking effect. And so then we'd have to carry foam pads into our gym every day.
See, I did that, and then after about 3 times of just feeling like an idiot for carrying like a foam roller and like something else in there, I'm like, you know what? I'll just leave it in there. I don't care if someone takes it. And then I'd like go in, and someone would be using my foam roller for, or not my foam roller,
Your
my
foam pad.
my foam thing for like hip thrusts, and I'm like,
Dude, the hip thrust, I'm
bro,
telling you.
I'm trying to squat, and then that was a whole area, but. Yeah, a lot of good stories. I miss that part of like in the summers and the winters being like you just gotta get, and that's a thing too. Like for all of the current college athletes, like nobody wants to just always train in optimal facilities with optimal coaching. Like at the end of the day, you have your friends with you, with whoever you're connected with. just go out and have fun.
Yep.
Some days just hit the opposite side, try swinging a drop 10 or something, whatever works. I'm getting the itch. I need to start doing something again. I'm getting too frustrated with golf. I think I need to get
I would
back.
actually be very curious because every time I threw when I played baseball, my arm killed.
Yeah.
And now being out of the game and just literally just focusing on strength training and just training like that's all I do is train as far as like athletic performance. I wonder if like it actually makes a difference now that I actually know what's going on with the arm and like how to actually utilize it. So I'd be curious to see if I like
I'm sure it does
got
a
on
little.
like a throwing program and
Yeah.
seeing and just not doing J bands, but actually
Yeah.
doing like legitimate strength and training and mobility work for your shoulder if
Yeah.
that would actually do anything. I'm sure it would, but just be curious to see because like I mean every time I threw my arm would just feel like it was gonna fall off. So
So I'm gonna borrow a segment from Shout Out the Brilliantly Dumb Show. But Grant, I want you to give me your top five hitting drills. But do you want to think about this for a second?
no, I'm just gonna let it rip.
You have your top five?
I mean they'll probably come to me as I talk about it.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so first and foremost, you got to make sure that you have a radar gun set up when you're hitting off the tee. So make sure that it's right.
Radar gun off a tee is a big one. That's very important. Yeah.
Make sure that's set behind, like right behind home plate, to make sure you get an optimal exit velo. And then what you're gonna do,
You could put it right in front too, like, but then you also might hit it, so that would be
you're
stupid.
just gonna set up an L screen. That's what they do at PBR. Shout out
Yeah.
PBR. So then what I would do is because you want to make sure that your swing is always hitchy, right? So you want to go
Yeah.
load, knob, stride, swing in that order. One, two,
Yeah,
three.
you want to really break it down.
Break it down because when 97 is coming at your dome, you want to make sure that you can really sequence that in one by one. And then I'm always thinking knob straight down the ball. like I, like I'm trying to hammer something in the ground. Okay, so I want to see this knob go straight down. Okay,
So
so yeah,
the other thing you can do is really be thinking about turning that barrel. Really be emphasizing that when you're swinging, you just want to be thinking turn the barrel.
yeah, almost just like a Ferris wheel. So
Yeah. If you're too new, if knob to the baseball, if you've already got over that, then you just got the
PVC pipe
the PVC pipe. Shout out my old days. I mean, go on.
because hitting's always off one leg. Remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, then what I would do. So we got our exit velo set up. We hitched our swing, so we're breaking it down into 7 parts. Okay, and then you're always trying to snap hook everything. Okay, because pull side is where you make your money. So you're always trying to think about pulling the ball left side.
I always heard you want to always try and hit the ball to the opposite field.
No, pull side everything.
Full side everything.
Even on the pitch away, right through the 6 hole. Works every time. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna get really wide in your stance. You're gonna limit the lower half, and you're just gonna think about squishing the bug, driving the knee straight down the ground. Those would be my top 5 hitting drills.
Okay. Should I go top five serious ones, or should I do? I don't know if I can think of top five more meme hitting drills.
Yeah, I can't think of any. Honestly, my favorite, not even kidding here. If I ever did T work, I'm hitting a softball. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah,
Shout
I
out,
mean,
shout out Darwin. We would hit softballs before the game all the time.
I would say favorite hitting drills. Number one is the mini baseballs.
Mini baseballs was a solid
That
pickup.
mini baseballs. I wish that batting practice would just got rid of that and just did mini baseballs.
Yeah. Dude, the mini baseballs was just such a better field. We would like do those in between double headers too.
Yeah, because
Just to see arm angles.
the anti mini baseballs is you just have a coach or a player stand 20 feet away and throw the ball 60 miles an hour and just take daddy hacks off that during BP.
Yeah, we lost a lot of mini baseballs though.
We did, dude. There's
There's a lot
there's
of
some
baseballs
very
on the loss.
like it's like golfing. It's like you just lose them in the ground. Like
Yeah.
I don't even know where they went. And I even colored them too, and we still couldn't find
Yeah. Yeah.
them. What?
I do remember you calling
Oh,
that.
remember that drill too, where we had to like call out the color too?
Yeah, you hated that drill.
I know. Oh, I invented it. Did I come up with that, or did you come up with that?
I don't
I
know.
liked it. It was just frustrating because I was bad at it.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, did that really work, you think? I don't think it did.
The
I feel like that's more of a meme drill.
the naming the color of the mini baseballs.
Naming the color. I think the mini baseballs have valid.
Yeah, I think the naming the color, I think it might be able to TBD. It's not as
I feel like
eye-watering
it's just like
as
a
other stuff,
break
but
down the swing type of thing. It's like, are you really looking at like, I don't know. Some people picked up spin. I never picked up spin. I just looked at tunnels.
yeah. I mean, I think if you're trying to like practice it, it's a way that if you're trying to kind of pick up the ball as soon as you can, because some people hit like that. Like
Yeah,
I never realized until like it was too late that I just didn't really, I never really saw the spin, but I kind of saw the trajectory of the ball, and that's kind
yeah.
of
It's
how
the same
I
thing.
get
You
off
just look at
speed.
like the tunnels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog toy.
As we've mentioned before, it's still, I need to get the dog toy here.
Where is it?
I think it's got to be with all my other baseball stuff.
Yeah. No, dude. I think the dog toy. Like, I feel like that helped my swing a lot. I'm not even kidding.
I don't think it did, but I think there's potential.
Dog toys up there. What about
Thoughts?
the
Go
like
ahead.
mini baseballs with a PVC pipe?
Aside from having a very funny video, I don't think that there's anything to it. I mean, I remember when I was younger, we'd like for when because there was the evolution of basement baseball with in the Nard family where we just like pitch to each other in our basement, and we had like a series where we used the mini baseballs and these thick like Louisville Slugger bats that were like this tall, and like that's what we hit with, and it's like impossible to hit the ball, but if you hit it, you can still
Where?
square it up.
Yeah.
So like I mean, I think obviously it's harder to. I mean, it's you're going to get more direct contact with the barrel thing. But like, I remember there was one. I think I had one this type of bat. It was like it's like one of those sweet spot bats where it's you know what I'm talking about. It's like the rod, and then there's like the barrel, and
Yeah.
there's like rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I swung it. I think it broke after like two swings.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, you're probably only supposed to use it with mini baseballs, but like I think
Did we ever do the Nerf gun? Was that with you?
the Nerf gun.
Over COVID, I saw Wilson Contreras and his brother hitting Nerf gun balls, like little balls, and they would shoot out of the Nerf gun.
Oh, they should have a Nerf gun.
Yeah, so I bought a Nerf gun on Facebook Marketplace.
Did you ever use it?
Yeah, it was just tough
Why do
though
you have to go to
because
Facebook Marketplace to buy a Nerf gun?
I wasn't trying to drop a fortune on it, and it was during COVID, so like that's the only place that was really selling stuff.
Everywhere was open during COVID.
No, it wasn't.
Well, like the grocery stores were open.
Where are you gonna get a freaking Nerf gun at Jewel?
You can get a Nerf gun at Target or Meijer or
I don't know
Walmart.
if they were like,
Those places exist for those. They keep like six of them in stock for the year that like six people will buy.
all right. Well, the Nerf gun was pretty solid, I think.
I've never tried that. I want to bring that.
Moral of the story, I think most hitting drills are eyewash.
I mean, I don't think you practice hitting it unless you're hitting live. I don't think there's really any
Yeah, I
way.
think the best way to practice hitting.
What about like VR hitting like Sims? Are those worth it?
I mean, no, they're fun though.
Agree.
I think like
What
if
about
you're,
hitting
I don't think anything is gonna like simulate a baseball other
so
than
you don't what about put the machine at 60 feet and have it go game speed?
no. I like if anything, I'm
Okay.
gonna do like a shorter machine.
Okay.
I'm not gonna set it up at like game speed. I don't think.
Okay.
And usually when I was doing machine work, I would just simulate it to like what I was gonna face that day. So like if I knew the guy was gonna have a good like off speed, then I'm usually just using my machine work. I do a couple rounds of fastballs just to get grooved, but then I would just take my machine work and like if I knew that guy had a good changeup, then I'm just gonna set the machine to changeups or set the machine to like lefty breakers or something like that.
All that said, this is not an excuse to just, oh, well, all these hitting drills are stupid, so I'm not going to try and get better at hitting. No, if you want to go get
Right.
like go take rounds of BP and do all this random stuff, you're not going to get worse by hitting more. You might start falling into some bad habits if you train in a way that's not the most productive. Like going out and taking 300 swings is not always the best thing, but a lot of good hitters, that's how they get better. It's just by that time in the lab, that time working.
Yeah, and
So,
like I think through all that, you're gonna find a routine that works for you. Like we
right.
went down packed over the summer when we were training. Like we would We would get there,
Yeah.
we would dog toy, mini baseball, then into side flips, and then with softballs and then short PP. Like we had it down pat.
Yeah.
And
Like
so
me,
I mean, but we wouldn't
yeah.
have figured that out unless we tried out all the stupid things first.
Yeah. And like that, so that's where I say again, shout out most of the Franciscan baseball team with Pete, who will literally hit for 4 hours and will throw for 4 hours if you don't tell him to stop. But like a lot of like everyone has their different edge because there's sometimes too where you legitimately, if you take 200 swings, you start to get tired. So you lose bad quality in your swings. But compare that to just showing up and hitting in the game. You might have better results, but you're not going to get better that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of times these hitting drills, it's like you're trying to reinvent the wheel when it's like, dude, the
Yeah.
best way to hit is just to go take BP, take
Yeah.
live BP, hit off a live pitcher and just work on that. And if you have mechanical issues, then just fix them through constraint drills, like
Yeah.
whatever. Like, but like these whole like do these 5 drills to increase your exit velo is just stupid, man. Because
Yeah.
it's like
And I think
baseball
once
comes
you get
on exit velo.
and I think once you get to the pro levels, it depends more. I don't think they're thinking necessarily about more about the drills. They're more just thinking about the reps and the quality of
It's
those.
all
Like,
feels.
I'm gonna get 50 swings, or I'm gonna get swings, yeah, feels until I
Dude,
get it.
that's what I'm gonna go on a rant on. There's like this huge thing now where it's like apparently field drills are bad. Which like I think if you chase, and that's kind of what I made about the my banded jump post,
Mhm.
where it's like I think the banded jumps are just fun. Like they're just a fun exercise to do. I don't really think there's a whole lot of benefit from them as far as like a rate of force aspect, like how fast you can get of jumping. But like they're just a fun exercise to do. And I think if you pair that with something explosive, like in the weight room, like a loaded jump or some speed
Yeah.
squats, like you're gonna feel more explosive. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily saying that they're going to increase your overall athletic performance, but I don't think there's anything wrong with field drills to make you feel better for performance.
Right.
So, like, even if that means doing your med ball throws before you go hit, understand that the med ball throw is just a stimulus and it's not necessarily going to be getting you more rotational. Maybe it is if you're doing it a certain way, but the majority of the time, it's just to get your body to feel what it feels like to rotate. And so, like,
Yeah.
this whole argument that, like, oh, field drills are stupid, like, I need to feel this, blah, 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 it's stupid, like, just go throw a baseball hard. It's like, no, dude, like, the best players in the world have drills that look stupid, but they allow them to feel certain things. It's like swinging with a donut. Does swinging with a donut do
Yeah.
anything? No, it's just
No.
making it's a psychological thing that makes you feel better.
Yeah. And again, because remember, at the end of the day, hitting is a skill, which means the number one thing that's important for it is coordination. So the first part of you can do whatever strength training, you can do whatever, but if you cannot physically hit a baseball, it's no good.
Yeah.
If you're doing a bunch of drills and whatever, but you get in the game and you bat 100, well, maybe you're probably missing the point of just actually hitting. And I think that's important too. That I know a lot of everyone's on their hitting philosophies and they do this to work, and everyone's got their system. But at the end of the day, I think you need to, as a coach and a player, just be adaptable and use different resources, but kind of be able to bring it all collective to say, like, okay, maybe like for me, I was always a pretty good pull side hitter that when I could score a baseball up, I didn't have any problem pulling the trigger.
Mhm.
But that was mean that I was a very anxious hitter. So a lot of what I had to work on was being able to hit back up the middle, hit the back pitch. So to kind of work on that back or not lower. What's the word? I'm getting a little. You can cut some of this, but
Just working hidden ball backside. You just move.
yeah, but no, but like more of like hinging into the hip, getting into like actually using your lower half, being able to generate that power.
Yeah.
It can be a rabbit hole if you try and teach the extent of having the perfect swing. You're gonna lose some people because you're not. It's not about coordination. That's why we ragged about making everything, breaking it down, and everything. Because at the end of the day, you see a ball coming at you, you have like 0.2 seconds to hit it and react, or
Yeah.
react and then hit it. So you can't be thinking coil into the back hip, turn the barrel, open the hips, something like that. You can't be thinking all of that. You just have to be thinking hit the ball or beat the
And dude,
ball.
I feel like if you just, I think there's a time and a place to break things down, but I think if 95% of your hitting sessions was more just focused on being a good hitter and being
Yeah.
reactionary, I think it's just a way better use of time than just trying to break it down through all these little nitpicky things.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like, why do we need to be telling a 7 or 8 year old kid what they should be doing with this and that?
It's like, dude, a 7 to 8 year old kid just needs to learn how to hit a baseball hard. 95% of them are just swinging like
Yeah.
that. And so, like, you telling them to get in their rear hit more is not going to do anything. They just need to learn how to actually just tell them to swing a baseball that hard. It's that
Yeah.
simple. And they're probably going to get better.
Because the hardest part about hitting a baseball is hitting a baseball.
Yeah.
You look at high school versus the pros, everyone can hit a baseball. It's just the degree of difficulty weeds out the people that aren't as good at that. But if you
Yeah.
just take some random person off the street that's never played baseball, they're not they could be a strong man, they could be whatever. They're gonna struggle with the coordination of hitting the ball. It's like when we golf. It's like,
Oh, God. That's a whole nother podcast.
yeah, it's just our coordination is we're used to doing not golf. So it looks like we've never played the sport before.
You got anything else? No?
Nah, stay juicy.